Hey, what's up, YouTube? So I'm in Oceanaudio right here. If you're looking for a free, powerful program to edit audio, it's a great program for you to get started with. And that's Ocenaudio, Ocenaudio, not ocean like the sea, Ocenaudio. And you can find them at ocenaudio.com. You can go ahead and download it. It's a multi-platform program. It works on Windows, Apple, and Linux, and maybe one other thing. I'm not quite sure. And there are multiple versions for different operating softwares and different versions of those operating softwares that you can see. So originally, when I was researching a program to edit audio, because I needed something to put on my MacBook Air, because I have older versions of Pro Tools and older versions of Adobe Audition, and I'm on CS6 of the Adobe platform. And one of the features that I found when I was doing my research, I went through so many videos, I found the feature, I actually utilized the program, used the feature, but I forgot how to do it. And then I went back to YouTube and I tried to find it and I couldn't. So the purpose of this video is to focus specifically on this one particular feature of the program. There are many other tutorials out there. There's many other videos that show you how to work the program. There's a couple that I can recommend, and I'll put the links down in the description below if you want to check those out. But for the purpose of this video, we're going to focus on removing the gaps or the silence in between your waveforms. If you're like me, you have very long recordings and you'll have significant gaps because sometimes I might be doing freeform things, and I might have to think a little bit, and there may be anywhere from a couple seconds to maybe upwards of a minute. Sometimes if it's getting too long, I'll stop the recording. But if I want to keep it all in one file to do something like this, you want to keep your recording going, and to remove those gaps can be tedious if you have a very long file. So what I want to show you in this example is just a short file that I recorded, and we're going to go ahead and show you how to use this feature. And then if you want to stick around, I'm also going to go in and show you how to edit the actual waveform itself to try to make it sound as good as possible. Because if you're new and perhaps you might not be as skilled with editing, or maybe you're new to VO, this will be a good tutorial for you to go ahead and see how this program works and how you can create and edit your audio files so that they sound the best that they can sound. Just remember that performance is key, and that if you have an audio file that isn't working and you're editing it and it still doesn't sound right, your best bet is probably to go back in, practice your performance, and then re-record it before you start editing again. So I'll give you that quick tip here. But for now, let's go ahead and get started and show you how to remove the silences in between these waveforms with a quick and easy way with a couple of clicks of the mouse. So we'll go ahead and get started with that. I'll go ahead and we'll go up to File. We'll go to Open. And then I've pre-recorded these files right here. And then we'll go ahead and open that. And it's going to display your waveform. So as you can see in my recording here, I've got these significant gaps in between my waveforms. And one of the things I'll recommend when you're doing VO is to try to be as fluid and as natural as possible. And even if you mess up, just start again. And we have a tendency to focus on doing it correctly, every single word and every single inflection, and everything's perfect. But my recommendation is just to talk normally, talk fluidly, and then go back in and edit and see how that works. Because sometimes we focus on the wrong things, and just try to be natural and try to get through it, and just keep practicing if you're having a difficult time. The reason why I point that out in this example is because I recorded this and I was trying to put the gaps in, so it's kind of affected my performance. So even when I edit it down, the performance is still not going to be adequate, I would say, to release or to show to the public. But it will show you that even with some flaws in the performance, you can still edit this and you can make it sound halfway decent, or maybe decent enough to use. So if you want to stick around after I show you how to remove the silences, I'm just going to go ahead and edit this file down into something that could be usable. You guys will be the judge of that. This is just for an editing tutorial purpose only. So let's go ahead and show you how to remove these large gaps in between these waveforms. So what you want to do is, once your file is in here, you want to select the entire file. And you can either do that by double clicking, or you can go to Edit, select all, or you can do a key combination, Command A on a Mac, and I believe it's Option A on the PC. So we'll go ahead and double click on this, select the entire file, and it's pretty basic. You just go up to Edit, you go down to Select, and then there's Silences. So once I select silences, the program's going to go ahead and automatically analyze the file, and it's going to select the gaps or the silences in between the waveforms. And we'll go ahead and do that now. So as you can see, the program analyzed it and it selected everything. Now for me, it's a little bit visually confusing. Maybe it isn't to you, but for me, the light portions are the portions that are actually selected. To me, it looks like the waveforms are the ones that are selected. But since we selected the silences, it's the lighter green portion is what's going to be removed. So one of the things that's interesting about Ocenaudio is that when you have a situation like this and what you have selected, you can actually press the space bar and play it. And as you'll notice, you'll see the line go through. But what it's going to do is it's only going to play the silence. It's going to play the light green spaces, and it's going to skip over the actual waveforms. Now there's a way you can do this where you can reverse it and you can select individual waveforms. You can select maybe the first and the last one and it'll skip all the way through. You can select several throughout your audio file and it's going to go ahead and just play those ones that are selected. But I just want to show you real quick. I'm going to press the space bar, and as you can see, it's playing through the silence only. It's skipping over the audio files. But I thought that was kind of a neat feature for Ocenaudio. So I'll go ahead and stop that. And to remove the silence, all you need to do is press the delete key. So I press the delete key and it's consolidated the file down. So you can go ahead from here, you can go ahead and audition and see where you are. But before we do that, let's take a listen to the file.
Hey, what's up YouTube? In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to remove the gaps between your waveforms.
Okay, so you can see. Now the performance is a little choppy because purposefully I put these gaps in here and it's affected the performance. So ultimately you'll hear that in the end result. That's another way for you to understand that the performance is key. So if you're having trouble with your final edit and it's just not sounding right, you'd probably be better off, instead of editing down everything, is going back in and working on your performance before you re-record it. That's what I would recommend. But let's listen to this one more time.
Hey, what's up YouTube? In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to remove the gaps between your waveforms.
Okay, one other thing I wanted to point out is you can see here I've got two words. When you're doing single words, it doesn't edit together very well. It's very hard to keep the inflections and the flow going when you're doing single words. You'll see that as we edit this down. So what I recommend is try to get through as many phrases or as many sentences or whatever it is that you're reading. Try to get through as much of it as possible. And if you have an error, maybe back up a couple of words or back up to the beginning of the sentence that you flubbed on and just start from there. The thing is to keep it fluid and keep it going and try to keep it natural. So since we listened to that, we saw how disconjointed it is, and we'll go ahead and let's remove the silence in between these waveforms. So we did that, I already did that, and we'll put that in. So we'll select silences. Okay, so now that this is selected, you go ahead and you hit delete, and now you have a file that's consolidated down. So let's take a listen.
Hey, what's up YouTube? In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to remove the gaps between your waveforms. In just a few simple steps, we can consolidate your audio file into a truncated audio file that will be a lot easier to edit. So let's get started.
Okay, so at this point in the video, I've shown you how to remove the silences quickly, and if that's all you needed to know, then I hope you found this useful. But if you want to stick around and watch me edit this down a little bit further, because you kind of sometimes have to deal with detail, stick around and I'll show you what we're going to do here to try to make this a usable audio file. If you're going to leave for now, just wanted to say thanks for watching, and be sure to comment, like, and subscribe if you found this video useful. So for the rest of you that are going to stick around, let's go ahead and dig into this and try to edit this down and make this a usable file.
Hey, what's up YouTube? In this
now you can hear that I hit the desk or something like that. And there is noise reduction in here, but I'm not sure if there's some way to remove that particular thing. I still have to dig in a little bit deeper onto that, but you can definitely hear it.
Hey, what's up YouTube? In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to remove the gaps between your waveforms in just a few simple steps.
Okay, so from what I can hear, I think this portion can be edited down, and that can be, let's say, your first sentence. There's a little bit of breath in here. So one of the other things I wanted to show you is you can go in here and you can go up to generate and you can put silence. And then I believe that's the amount that's been selected here. I think that that's what that is. So I'll go ahead and select OK. And yeah, so it takes out those breaths.
Hey, what's up YouTube? In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to remove the gaps between your waveforms in just a few simple steps.
Okay, so we've got rid of that. Okay, so we'll zoom in here just a little bit and we're going to bring this down. And I want these to be a lot quicker. And I think this is the end right here. So we're going to...
The gaps between your waveforms.
Okay, so let's bring this right up here.
Your waveforms in just...
Okay, so right here. So this is where we're going to end. In order to make this a little bit easier, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to expand this area in between this and this. Now, the difference with Ocenaudio that I'm getting accustomed to is you kind of have to add things in. Okay, so as you've noticed, anytime that I remove something, it truncates it, consolidates it down, and that's very useful when you're doing this type of thing because we're just focusing on this audio. So normally if I wanted to edit this and if I wanted to create a, some space in between these two words right here, you would go ahead, click this, you would hit the cut button, there would be a line, and then this would separate these two sections of the file. But in Ocenaudio, when you do that, it just brings everything together and there is no actual cut. So what you need to do if you want to add something is you need to go up to generate and you will add some silence. So I want to add, let's say, 0.6 seconds of silence. So I'll go ahead and click OK. And as you see, it'll go ahead and do that. Like I said, normally with other programs, you would, make an edit and then you can slide the waveform, either direction that you want to. But with Ocenaudio, it's just a little bit different. So I wanted to show you that. So let's go back to the beginning.
Hey, what's up YouTube? In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to remove the gaps between your waveforms.
Okay, so we'll bring this down a little bit more.
In this tutorial, I'm going to show you...
So I think it even needs to be more there as well.
In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to remove the gaps between...
Okay, so just bear with me. I'm going to kind of go through this a little bit quickly.
Gaps between your wave...
And try to make this sound a little bit better.
How to remove the gaps between your waveform.
And you can hear it's the inflections. The inflections aren't quite matching because I was trying to create some space. It's not very natural, as you can hear. So that's just something to pay attention to with your performance.
Gaps between your waveforms in just...
Okay, so again, the performance is not the greatest, but I want to just add just a little bit more. So let's do 2. All right, so add a little bit more. Okay, so let's go back to the beginning.
Hey, what's up YouTube? In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to remove the gaps between your waveforms. In just a few simple steps, we can consolidate your audio file into a truncated audio file that will be...
Okay, so there's a lot of stuff that needs to be attended to here, but I think the gap between here and here is fine.
Waveforms. In just a few...
So one of the things you could do, like I said, is you could just go through here if you want and just remove as much of this as possible. And some of you may be thinking, well, if I'm going to do this, then why do I need to remove the silence, because I'm going to be editing this anyways? Well, removing the silence brings everything closer together, and it speeds things up. That's what it does. So once you become proficient, if you wanted to go through the whole file and edit it as you go, you can. That's what I used to do in Adobe Audition, is I'd go through the file, remove the gaps, and do the fine-tuning edit in the beginning. And then that became very tedious for long files. So what I used to do in those is I would go through, kind of do the same thing just like this, is go through everything, remove all the gaps just like this, which is very, very tedious, and then go back in, a second or a third time and do detail work. So let's go ahead and listen to what we have.
In just a few simple steps, we can consolidate your...
So even more.
In just a few simple steps.
Yeah, so even more. This almost needs to be on top of each other.
Steps we can...
And you can see this much here. And the interesting thing is, you can see up here is as I'm doing that up above, it shows you how much time the selection is. So we'll go ahead and remove that, and we will see what we have.
In just a few simple steps, we can consolidate your audio file into
We really want these almost on top of each other.
Steps we can consolidate your audio file into a truncated audio file that will be a lot easier.
So we're still just removing, shaving.
A truncated audio file that will be a lot easier to edit.
Okay, so let's zoom out here a little bit. All right, so let's go to the beginning of that sentence. And
in just a few simple steps, we can consolidate your audio file into a truncated audio file that will be a lot easier to edit. So let's get started.
Okay.
In just a few...
So you can see here that I took away too much space and I need to add it back in again. So as I showed you before, to do that, let's see.
A lot easier to edit. So let's get started.
Okay, so I'm going to say we're going to need at least a half second there. So let's go back in. We're going to generate some silence, and we'll do 0.6. Okay, so that's a considerable amount. I think that might be too much, but let's check it out.
It'll be a lot easier to edit. So let's get started. It'll be a lot easier to edit. So let's get started.
It's not too bad, but I think I want a little bit less. So one of the things that I'll do is, instead of going back in here and adding like maybe a 0.1 or something like that, I'll undo and I'll go back in and I'll redo it. But in this case, instead of 6, I'm going to put 5. You can do it any way you want. This is my preferred way to do it. I just find it to be just a little bit easier because you're doing less and less guesswork. Because when you get down to those really, really small, anything below a half second, it can be going back and forth and stuff. It's a little bit tedious and time consuming, and so I find this an easier way to do that. So we'll go ahead and click OK. We'll listen back.
A lot easier to edit. So let's get started.
Okay.
A lot easier to edit. So let's get started.
To me, that sounds a lot better. So let's go back to the beginning. And then let's see. I think if you press this right here, it'll show you the entire file that you're working on. So we'll go back to the beginning and we'll take a listen all the way through and see what it sounds like.
Hey, what's up YouTube? In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to remove the gaps between your waveforms. In just a few simple steps, we can consolidate your audio file into a truncated audio file that will be a lot easier to edit. So let's get started. Hey, what's up YouTube?
So overall, I'm not liking this right here. It's a little bit too long, so let's make that adjustment.
Gaps between your waveforms. In just...
So maybe we'll take out like that much. And we'll take a listen.
Between your waveforms. in just a few
Maybe a little bit more.
between your waveforms. In just a few simple
Maybe just a little bit more.
between your waveforms. In just a few simple steps
Maybe that was a little bit too much. Let's go back.
between your waveforms. In just a few simple steps, we can consolidate your audio file into a truncated audio file that will be a lot easier to edit. So let's get started.
So as you can hear, the performance is lacking. It's very choppy, it's abrupt, and it doesn't have a very good flow. So that's on me as the performer. But just for the purposes of this video, you can see how quickly that you can edit things down using Ocenaudio. So let's listen to it one more time.
Hey, what's up YouTube? In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to remove the gaps between your waveforms. In just a few simple steps, we can consolidate your audio file into a truncated audio file that will be a lot easier to edit. So let's get started.
Okay. So in a pinch, I think that would work, but you can clearly hear that the performance isn't right and it sounds highly edited, which there's so many videos and stuff out there with all this jump cut editing. It kind of sounds like that anyways. I don't prefer that. For me, I would go ahead and re-record this, and what I would do is I would focus on it, or maybe if I was just recording kind of off the cuff and I didn't really know what I wanted to say, but I kind of had a good idea, this is another good way to maybe form a script if you want, is you can edit it down and then you can print a script from what you've created, and then you can go back in and re-record it. Because as you can see, initially when we were doing this, there was massive gaps in between everything. But now you can see there's gaps in between these particular phrases or sentences. So that's where, if you wanted to go back into and re-record, this is what I could focus on, because visually you can see, okay, when I'm gonna record, I should get through this part cleanly.
Hey, what's up YouTube?
Okay, and then this part should also be clean all the way through.
In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to remove the gaps between your waveforms.
So if you're gonna go back in and re-record, you would just focus on maybe saying this phrase or sentence. And if you need to say it a couple of different times to get it right, you can do that. That could be a good way to go back in once you get a little bit better with your performance, and then it'll make it easier to edit, where you will have these longer phrases instead of these, individual words and things. Because again, you can hear this is very choppy, but if you edit it down, you can clearly see what you would need to focus on in your performance.
In just a few simple steps, we can consolidate your audio file into a truncated audio file that will be a lot easier to edit.
So in conclusion, I would say that this would be the sentence or the phrase that you would focus on, and you can work on your intonation, you can work on your delivery, and get it a little bit closer. So ultimately, what you would want it to look like when you come back in to edit after you've recorded is something similar to this. If you stuck it out this far in the video, just wanted to say thanks for watching. And hopefully you found this video useful. If you did, please leave a comment. If you have any other information to share with the community, also leave a comment below. Thanks for watching.